Bill, get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing going.
Welcome to the comic.
Bill, get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing going.
What's going on, nerds?
We were waiting for you, man. It was
I didn't know if we were unmuted or not.
We're live.
He usually goes, points at me, you know?
Bill, get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing
Mike.
going.
Mike.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So this is the Comic Zone. I'm Mike. That's DJ Nike, and that's Bill.
What's up? We're live
Yep.
talking Ahsoka. So if
Well,
you've seen it, make sure to say hello, jump in the chat, and we'll try to.
hold. I was gonna
Just
share the live real quick. So
You
just-
say it many times, but
Huh?
yeah, as people join, just say hello in the chat. We'll try to say hello back. We're kind of antisocial as nerds, so we're awkward just in general. So please forgive us.
if they're watching, they should know that.
Yeah. But yeah, the new show, Ahsoka. Mike still hasn't seen it, so we're spoiling it without him. So before we go into too many spoilers, what are your first impressions, Sean? Nike.
Actually, it's probably a cool thing that he is behind us on this one because out of the three of us, he has the most Star Wars lore knowledge. You know what I mean? Like I've seen all the films and most of the TV shows up to date, but I haven't, read the books. I haven't seen most of the cartoons. So my first thought, and I'm glad you worded it that way, I think this is either my first or second favorite TV shows out of the Star Wars universe. I'm putting it right up there with Mando. I'd have to watch, The Mandalorian again. The fact that it's been out longer, you know what I mean? So there's 3 seasons. I'm giving it a little bit of an edge up, but I am super impressed with this show so far.
Yeah, I've been really impressed so far. The 3rd episode took a little bit of a dip for me personally, but I actually watched them again a second time, and I kind of saw how they fit together better. So it was a little bit more interesting, but
And you're
I'll get more into that later.
You're a step ahead because I've only seen the first 2 so far. I'll definitely say a standout has been the CGI. Like, with a lot of the issues that we've been seeing with Disney, especially Marvel, you know what I mean? With their CGI quality, it's a crapshoot how good or bad it's going to be.
They're definitely being smart with it.
Yeah.
Very smart. There's sometimes where the character is a hologram put in so they don't have to do all the CGI. And it's like, well, that's clever. They just made them off planet and teamed them in. The Zoom call for, Star Wars.
For Star Wars, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, so that's a definite. Also, I think as far as the actors and actresses go, I put it a step above Obi-Wan, which I thought Obi-Wan was a good show altogether. But I think so far with the cast that I've seen on this one, thus far, they've done better overall.
There we go.
They just had a few, real key characters. There's not a lot of characters, and I think that's also how they're playing it smart, too.
Right.
And I got to be careful because I just want to be the reaction. And there's, I think, a lot of good things about Star Wars. What to expect when seeing a Star Wars movie, like the key ingredients. You want to see, for me, I like the Jedi and the Sith, the light and the dark battle, the yin and the yang, and the kind of that samurai dueling aspect, I think is quintessential, especially when we're talking any kind of Jedi story with Ahsoka. So that is key. The other thing to come to expect is, cool robots and creatures. And there definitely are some great robots in the show, one of which, kind of annoying, is voiced by one of my favorite actors,
David Tennant.
Yes.
You think he's annoying? I love it. He's my second favorite.
As far as the character, it's supposed to be because he's the know-it-all know-it-all character who, after a while becomes endearing, but he's kind of a bitter pill to swallow. You've all had those analytical types that are,
True.
And
But as far as I think it actually almost adds a human aspect to him. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the, at least English speaking droids, so the ones that we can understand what they're saying, it's not just beep bop beep. He seems to put in his own thought process more than just it's, you know what I mean? It's like I'm allowed to have an opinion, and this is my opinion, so I'm giving it to you.
Because he's like a trainer droid,
Yeah.
too. So yeah. But also, there's also some crazy cool creatures. Wait till you get to episode 3.
Okay.
There's some really amazing kind of creatures there. But then also, in the same kind of yin and yang of the creatures, you get the cutie ones that are, they put that one in so they can sell some stuffed animals.
Yeah, well, and so far, only thing I've seen are the little cat things.
Yeah, the
You know what
cat
I mean?
things with like chicken feet.
Yeah.
We've come to expect the cute little whatever
Yeah.
by this point.
So-
They got to have one in every movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like a cute little droid or a cute little,
Let's go all the way back to the Ewoks.
yeah, all the way back.
Man, yo, I remember I had a stuffed Ewok as a kid.
So did I.
You know what I mean?
Hmm. And they probably just made that to sell toys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like came up with the Ewoks. They're like, oh, what if we did something cute?
Well, especially once they kind of figured it out as far after Empire, they really kind of hit their stride with the toy market. And they're like, hey, we can fund the next movie with this.
Yeah.
And-
Empire's so good.
Yeah. But a lot of the toys, at least that's when I remember getting the flood of
What's
those
your-
toys.
Out of the 3 in the original trilogy, which one of those is your favorite?
Yeah, Empire.
You think? You
Yeah.
like it over Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Sean?
I'm thinking. It's either Return of the Return of the
The
Empire.
Empire.
Yeah, or Return of the Jedi or Empire Strike Back. Without watching them back to back, that would be really hard for me. I would definitely say the second and the third were better than the first, because the first was just like an intro. You know what I mean?
it really
to
is.
give you, especially if you got to watch them in the order that they were intended.
If you look at it, there's not a lot that actually happens in the first movie.
Not at all.
Like it goes from him being on Tatooine, and it's like a day or two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That this all goes down. So it's really not a lot happening in that movie if you really look at it.
And then they're introducing all the characters, so you don't know how they fit in together, you know what I mean? And you don't know the lore. You know, it was a lot to take in as a kid. It was like, all I care about are the sword fights and the lasers. You know what I mean? But now seeing it as an adult and going through and seeing everything is like, oh, I can tell that.
The dog fights are the other key ingredient.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, that too.
As somebody that loves
That's-
Top Gun, yeah, you
That's
got to have
one
the
of
dog fights.
That's one of my favorite parts of Star Wars is like the dog fighting and like the X-Wings especially. I think they're the coolest shit ever.
So in episode 3, there's a really cool dog fight, and the enemy planes almost look like an old school, like the old school fighter jets, like not the like the propeller ones on the front.
Yeah.
So they look very much like that, and in it, and then we get Ahsoka kind of jumping around and stuff too.
Now, yo,
So-
this brings me to something that I wanted to bring up to you guys. Now, I have the Millennium Falcon tattooed on my arm. And as a child, I think I've even mentioned that on the show before. I hated that ship because it was so ugly to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't aerodynamic, and it wasn't, what do they call it when all the sides are even?
symmetrical.
It wasn't symmetrical. But then later on in life, so about the time I hit preteens, I started reading the Robotech books. And, they were like fighter jets that could, fight spaceships in space, but they look like jets on Earth because that's what humans knew. And I remember there was a part where one of the engineers was talking. It was like, it's almost a waste of energy for some of the moves that we're doing in space because there's no, there's no gravity, there's no atmosphere. You know what I mean? So they don't have to be symmetrical in space. You know what I mean? And once that changed my whole thought process about a lot of the StarCraft after I read that.
But
You know
even
what I mean?
how they fight is inaccurate as far as gravity works too, because it's always like there's always like a forward projection.
It's like they're
But
flying
now
in
they
an
could be
atmosphere.
could be 3-dimensional straight lines,
They do,
and
like,
not like a jet,
Right.
which is how we have to be perceived.
Perceived.
We wouldn't get it if they moved. They'd be like, "That's
If
stupid."
it just like stopped and then they
Went-
just
went
went
up,
yank,
Yeah.
and like
turned. That's how you would really fly.
Yeah.
Is like because I saw it on one of those fucking shows on Discovery or whatever. the fuck.
Right.
And they were, or maybe it was on YouTube or whatever the fuck, but they're talking about like how you would actually fly in like formation in space, and it was like that where it was like
Very.
and you would stop, start, and just like
Yeah, because they have retro boosters on real like spacecraft.
yeah,
and shit.
because
Yeah.
in Star Wars they're banking to make a turn and shit
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
in space.
Unless it's pulling off another gravitational force.
Like from one of the bigger ships.
Star Wars, Star Trek 4. There's,
Yeah.
but even then, their forward momentum is different. Yeah.
And there's no up or down in space either. You know what I mean? Relative to the closest planet they are, maybe. But yeah, there's no up and down. So that was just one of those, funny things that I got from another lore that allowed me to understand things better, in Star Trek. Which brings me to, I wanted to ask you this because I didn't want to Google it. I just wanted to see if you knew, or even if you know. I've always had an issue with whenever the ships, like the smaller ships or the fighters get on, dock with one of the bigger ships.
Shits.
Yeah, right. There's like people walking around, you know what I mean? Not just droids. So it's like
Where's the gravitational field or the airlock?
yeah, there's no airlock. So is there an explanation? Like, because there's always seems to be those three light things.
I could make something up.
Well, yeah, but I wanted to know if there was any lore about that. Because for real,
About them just going into a ship.
yeah, and there not being anything to keep the, space from pulling everybody out or them not being able to breathe. Like
Well,
that
it's
is.
it probably has something to do with like a force field or something. You know?
But I've seen those movies a million times and no one's ever mentioned it. So I was just wondering if it was in the books or the comics.
know if
Hey,
I-
if any of you guys know, let me know because that's one of those one things that bugs me. It's like takes the realism away just a tad.
I would go with some sort of force field /
yeah, it's just like
segmented for
the ships
gravity
the
places.
The ships are surrounded in force fields anyway.
Oh, all right, that's true. That is true. I'd forgotten about that.
Like they do have like
They have shield. Each one has its own shield. All right, I did forget that. That helps.
so yeah. You just
Guiding your way through
It's
the
a force
pseudoscience
field.
of science fiction.
Right.
it's a force field.
That would be a great name for a podcast.
Right. Remember that.
There
So,
was
so let's ask the
in one of-
20-sided die.
In one of the books, Vader does eject himself out into space
Right.
to get to another ship that the docking, like, so you have to dock. So if you pull up to another ship, you have to dock to that,
Right.
and that's the airlock. Like the tunnel is the airlock.
All right. Well, like I said, it makes sense, and I've seen those. Like, there's always seems to be three lights.
But in the book, he doesn't have any way to dock to this ship, and he has to go in there and make sure or something.
Which is the same thing that
so
Leia did.
So he ejects himself out and like floats through space.
and he can survive it with all that shit he's got.
He can breathe out.
Yeah.
Or I mean, at least for a little while. But he gets over there and like, it was cool. But that Leia shit where she did like the Mary Poppins,
Right.
like that was fucking lame. I hated that movie so much.
I didn't. And I'll allow it because it actually showed that was pretty much like the first time her showing
The
her.
first time I watched it, I hated it.
All right, there we
so
go.
much, I should say, because I think if you watch those movies one right after the other, it's pretty not bad.
Yeah, they're not. I
But-
loved them.
I don't know. I think going, oh, surprise, it's Palpatine. At the end, you're like, really? Like, why couldn't it just have stayed Snoke or whatever his name is, right?
Because they nixed him in the second one.
Well, I know. But why? Like, you could have just kept that going. You didn't have to do Palpatine. Like, that's so lame. Super lame.
Yeah, well, it's funny you said that because you're gonna get a piece of something similar. Be prepared for that. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
What do you
So
mean?
I want to get into Ahsoka for a sec, back into it and
In the show?
into the talking about the show, because it felt very much like episode 1 when you first started watching it. It was like starting the first Star Wars over again.
It felt like it, yeah.
I mean, as far as the cinematography, the big ship, the raiding party, what scenes of that in different areas. So that was really cool. And then once we get to Ahsoka, it switched to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It did. It did. You're right.
She was like going through and like cutting through and finding the tomb, unlocking the mystery, getting the prize, and then eventually being chased out of the temple by the robots being exploded. There was a little twist. There wasn't a boulder.
Yeah.
But there was a nuclear explosion that made her run away. But it was very much like those two movies spliced together.
I wouldn't even have realized that if you hadn't said
She
that.
outran a nuclear explosion.
Well, I mean,
Technically.
I'm calling it nuclear. I do not know what the actual.
It was
a
big.
Mushroom cloud, 3 or 5 robots all.
Well, 3 because she destroyed 2, so I don't think the other 2 could.
Yeah, so like 3 self-destructing at the same time, and she's outrunning. She had a head start, and then kind of jumps up on the ship.
Is she more convincing with the
Force jumps?
with everything?
Yes.
Does she seem like she really...
Honestly, I wouldn't say partially. I would say it's her. I think part of that is what I was saying about the CGI too. Like they haven't overdone it, and it's not like
They pick their battles.
What made Anakin and Obi-Wan, so Ewan McGregor and what's homeboy's name?
Christian, whatever.
Yeah. What made them fucking super good and convincing as Jedi was their actual ability to fucking move like that. And like so their fight, the reason it's the best one is because both those guys were fucking
We won't get into that best one.
super dope. Oh, it is the best one. What's better?
You know which one's better. The one with Darth Maul.
It's not better. No. What?
I will go to my deathbed saying
Maybe that's like second best.
nah. We'll argue about that forever. But I will say, yeah, her movements are very believable. It's not overdone. Like, 'cause honestly, there were even a couple of times in the 1, 2, and 3 where some of the Force jumps was like, you guys could have spent a lot more time, but we let it ride because overall those films were so good. So
yeah. So I mean, but what was she? Which show was she in? She was in The Mandalorian.
yeah, for a hot second.
Yeah, and like she just wasn't all that convincing to me in that, like the way she moved and shit.
Well, she's definitely got. For one, she's in better shape. It's you can tell when you see her. You know what I mean?
I was wondering.
Yeah, she's in better shape. Well, you got to think, man. She hadn't really been doing fucking action movies. You know what I mean? Like she was in all of the Daredevil Marvel films, but she was a nurse. She wasn't fighting. You know what I mean? And she hasn't been fighting in any other film she's been in lately. So you know it takes a while to get your body into shape like that, especially when you're 40 and older. And she's older than I am, so she's probably closer to 50.
Yeah.
Overall, her part was very reserved too.
Thank you.
And I think it fit the role, but there again, it was very minimal. And I think a little bit of that was my complaint, but it wasn't too bad. It moved kind of slow. Even though there's only been 3 episodes, the plot progression has been very slow. There's been a lot of long shots, a lot of dramatic scenery, and then a little bit of action shots here and there, whether it's a dogfight or a Jedi battle. So you get a lot of these different mixes of the scenery, and then cute animal. Droid cursing so much they have to bleep out every line. They follow the formula, but it was still slow. And I think
I would agree. I fell asleep during the last 15 minutes of the first episode and had to go back and watch it. And partially I was tired, but it did lull, and I was like, oh, because I almost fell asleep the second time after I rewound it. So there was definitely that pause. You know what I mean? Where it was moving a little slow. I thought.
There's 3 main female characters. And
4 if you count the bad girl.
As far as the Jedi, and then
The bad girl.
The bad. She is a bad girl.
She looks like a Atwood.
Yeah, she does kind of, but hotter.
Yeah, like if they should have casted her or inspiration for her for that Jedi.
Yeah, yeah. This chick is hot. Like she's like this crazy. What's the word I'm looking for? What do they call exotic?
Fatale.
Well, that too. But she's exotic. Like I had to look her up to see what she was, because you get to see Ahsoka's Padawan, and she's Asian in real life, beautiful girl. But this other girl, I was like, man, by looking at her, I couldn't tell what she was.
And also, let's mention that
what she has a
Padawan. But
Like currently, or like
Yeah, so
in-
that- that's-
Used to.
she used to, and then she came back. That's part of that's part of the three
that
female
is good.
Jedi. So the three female Jedi. You have Ahsoka.
she had this apprentice after leaving the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Didn't say when.
It was true. But she said
It would have been after Order 66.
Yeah.
I would bet.
because she was already had left Anakin, obviously.
Oh, that was way later. Like she was already an adult by the time. Or wait, no. When Order 66 happened.
She had to have been an adult, wouldn't she? Or no, not really.
Nah, I don't think so. Because I think you get an episode and see what she's doing when all that goes down of the Clone Wars, but I can't remember.
Crap. Well, we'll check that out. But yeah, so the three main chicks are woof.
So then it's General Syndulla.
That's Mary Elizabeth. What's her name?
Yes, who was also in
She's in a lot of stuff.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yep. She was and that, which was a comic book film. First thing I ever saw her in was Sky High, which was based on comic book stuff.
And Sabine is the Padawan of Padawan.
Oh, okay.
And she's badass.
Sabine's from. I know who she is.
So then
She's a Mandalorian.
Yep. I was wondering. That's why I didn't say anything.
So that was the cool part. That's the cool twist. The Mandalorian
Yeah, I already
or
know.
Jedi. Yeah.
When you said her name, I already know who she wore like graffitied up armor.
Mm-hmm. So you'll like that.
See, before the
she's
podcast, I said if there's anything that I missed, I wouldn't have got it because you know the lore versus.
Yeah, I just already know just
By names.
by
Yeah.
hearing her name.
Yeah, that blew me away because I never knew from the lore that there was a Mando Jedi. That's
she's
adding
from Rebels.
okay.
And so, like, her main conflict is that she doesn't feel like she has the Jedi. I mean, has the Force.
The Jedi.
She doesn't have the Jedi. She doesn't have the Force. But
Matter
as
of fact,
watching
the robot even said she was the weakest Padawan he'd ever seen in hundreds of years.
so watching the first episode a second time, I think I've seen foreshadowing where she does. The very first scene when she's driving the motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
It's just like
Speeder.
just like the Force with like the pod racing style
yeah.
of I think, and that's where she's going to tap into her Force.
Okay, maybe I was about
That's
to say.
my theory of the show.
I hope so because even she thinks she's weak. So it'll be. But again, if you're already a
that-
Mandalorian, you're already a badass.
Yeah, but relearning how to fight and everything, and like relearning everything starting from scratch,
That's got to be hard.
and like
A different discipline.
It's that mental block. You're like, oh, I can't do it, and that's why she can't do it. You know what I mean? That's the only reason.
And that seems about accurate with what I've seen so far.
And have you seen? And she gets all right. We're gonna have to do spoiler here, but Sabine gets stabbed at the end of episode
One.
and there's been memes going around of John Quinn or Liam Neeson's Jedi looking at her like, what the fuck? She lives and I die.
Right?
But she gets stabbed through and then survives.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and he just dies and falls.
yeah, and he's like, there's memes of him going, what? Come on.
But you got to get, well, maybe,
And then there's other ones of the organ showing, okay, well, this missed the vital organs here, and this one hit his heart there.
That's what I was
So
about
that's
to go. And then of course the saber cauterizes the wound, so you can't bleed out from a fucking
Yeah, but if you burn through all your organs, I think you're still.
Sayonara.
yeah.
I don't think it matters if.
But I mean,
hard.
but if you think about it, same way with a bullet, like you can get shot and it miss. Look, fucking 50 got shot 9 times, including once in the face.
Can you imagine how painful it would be to get cut by a light? Like somebody cut your arm off.
I bet you would hurt less than to get it chopped off with a machete, because that's not going to be. I'm thinking the heat would. It's still going to hurt because you're losing the limb.
That's what I'm thinking would hurt. Is like you would. Have you ever been burned real bad?
Yes.
Okay, then you know that shit.
I can show you
hurts.
the scars on my ass.
Like it is a weird sort of pain that like
It's the worst pain. I wouldn't want to go to hell just
it
for being. I've been on
radiates-
fire.
It radiates
Your entire body.
through your fucking body. It's nuts.
But yo, all right. So I've been on fire. I had third-degree burns on 75% of my body when I was 4 years old. Everyone's like, you remember that? It was like, I was on fucking fire. Yes, I remember it. But I've also chopped off an appendage. It was only a piece of a finger. I'm not flipping you guys. I mean, I am, but I'm not. But regardless,
Motherfucker.
so I've chopped off a finger and I've been on fire. And I'd rather chop off a finger than be on fire.
Yeah.
I fell in a pot of boiling water.
Bet you that hurt.
Dude, are you fucking serious?
Yep.
Jesus.
I fell on the space heater, gas-powered, flat porcelain.
I dripped hot glue in between my fingers from a seamy, like a carpet iron. And it, over use, and it has a tray, and like that tray had a bunch of that glue in it, and it dripped in between my fingers, and I like tried to wipe it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it just smeared it down my hand.
Justine says, "You guys are graphic." LOL.
We are. Well, when I was on fire, I was flat, and I was 4 years old, so I'm flat on top of a porcelain freaking space heater that's gas powered, just sitting on top of it, frying. And I will say, when you're actually on fire, your brain is crazy. It tells you that you're cold, and you can't feel the pain for like, I don't know, it felt like 30 seconds. It was probably closer to like 1. But it had to be longer because I was flat on it, and my parents couldn't see me, so I had to roll myself off. While I was on it, I couldn't breathe. I didn't feel any pain but I knew something was wrong. As soon as I got off of it, so I wasn't burning anymore. Oh yeah, I screamed, and that was the worst pain ever after I fell off it. But it's crazy what the brain does to you. You know what I mean? Hell, even when I chopped off my finger, it felt like it was still there for the first 3 years.
Yeah. Well, that you hear about that all the time.
Yeah, but you hear about that in movies until it actually happens to you. You're like, oh, they got that right.
Oh, yeah, that's for real. Like, people lose arms and shit, and they feel like it's
Ghost,
still there.
yeah, ghost
Like,
limbs.
You can feel ghost,
Phantom
phantom pain.
limbs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Like, you can feel pain in them when they're not there. That's crazy, man.
I've broken my leg, but I've never, knock on wood, lost an appendage. I broke the femur in 3 spots and blew out my hip. So the strongest bone in your body 3 times.
Ooh.
Jesus.
Oh, so since we're praying, to get it back real quick, as soon as I saw the first episode, first thing that popped, I remember the people that die because I always have to say them on air on the radio. You know what I mean? I was like, I thought Ray Stevens was dead. Ray Stevenson, the master.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Oh.
He is, yeah. But I didn't. But again, I've been
it's
trying to stay off IMDb while I'm watching shit.
He was in Punisher Warzone.
Yeah.
He was part of
He was the big fat guy in
He was-
Thor,
yeah.
Thor's friend.
Thor's homie.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of shit. He was the first thing I saw him in. I think was one of the King Arthur films.
Well, I
Yeah,
heard
so he's Balin Skull.
I heard he really.
So the Sith. That's the character name.
Yeah.
I
so just
heard
to give context.
I heard he really kills it though.
Yeah, he does.
He's a badass character. For
And
sure.
you know what? For like I said, I only saw the second episode, but from what you can tell from his character, he was a former Jedi
Yeah.
that went to the Sith. And, although he's still about the money and he's still evil and he wants power, like when the main bad chick, I forgot what her name is. She's got her first name is normal. It's her last name that's screwy. The main bad chick, the witch.
Morgan
Esbeth. Yeah.
Diane Lee in Santano. In Inosanto.
But Morgan Elsbeth, when she tells him, we're gonna have to kill her. You know what I'm saying? He's like, that's a shame. She was like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? He was like, she's one of the last Jedis left. It would just be a shame to wipe out the order.
And in one of the previews, it said that
it's just Jedi.
And then it's in the previews. He says that he's.
You don't say
right.
fishes.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And in the previews, he says that it's like that Darth Vader spoke fondly of her.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
So that I think that's an interesting thing about his character as far as a Sith who's almost kind of showing
Compassion, yeah,
and his Sithness as light and positive sides of the Force. And even when he first broke into the cell, he's like, "Oh, you and saved the Queen Morgan." That she's like, "Oh, you made good on your word." And then he's like, "I was paid handsomely, or paid well to do so." So we're seeing, this almost anti-hero esque character within the very bad baddie of this, which I think is an interesting kind of twist that I'm starting to see.
Yeah, because I don't ever remember, other than Anakin, I don't ever remember seeing a Sith that had a conscience.
Just depends on the Sith. I mean, there's lots of them. If you get like into the books and whatnot, but
Which I haven't yet.
right. So there are a lot. I think, like you talk about like Palpatine. No, obviously you talk about like Plagueis. No, but like further into the past, like the old Republic and shit. Then you've like run into some because it's more of a. Back in the day, it's more of like a culture thing. So there's a whole like Sith planet, and like
So they have a religion like they say the Jedi is a religion,
right. So I mean, like some people that you just grow up in that, and they're not necessarily like bad people, because not everybody's a Sith master and fully
right?
like immersed themselves in the dark side to where they're like not them anymore,
Right.
Or I don't know, Palpatine's.
Well, yeah, he's barely him. He's a
But,
clone at
like
this point.
but some of them they grow up and they're just like kids or whatever,
Right.
So
Which makes sense. The whole, the religion, depending on the religion that you grow up, how you have an outlook on certain things. I will say, I can't remember, his character wasn't that big of a deal, but I remember the guy's voice because he was the teacher in the first Transformers, the live action one, when Sam was still in high school and he had to give the report on his uncle. That teacher, he's the one that's working on that base. And they were asking, it was like, well, how many of these workers are, still loyal to Morgan? And he's like, all of them probably. He was like, well, they were past workers. You know what I mean? It's like, well, don't you worry about their loyalty? He was like, no. And this was one of the most realist things that I thought really kicked back into what's going on in the real world. He was like, these people don't care about the politics, whether it's the Republic or the Empire. All they care about is they're getting a check and they can go home and feed their family. I was like, ooh, that was fucking gangster. Because, I mean, when you think about it, there's got to be people, you know what I mean, in all of the galaxies that, fall under that probably could give a fuck less about their war. Like, yeah, can we get some food to me and y'all fight about who's
they
leads?
cover that a lot in the shows and stuff, like in Clone Wars a lot of times.
Right.
You see those.
But you never see it in the films, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
you
for like
see
the people that only watch the films and these shows, like that's going to be a completely new concept to them.
Right, where you get to see that for the most part, and I think they get that across a lot though in like almost all the movies though, is like when they get down to, and they get down to the people in the gutter almost a lot of the time.
And those are the ones that
And,
could
and
care
they're
less.
they're the ones, yeah, they're like, I'm just trying to survive. I don't know what the fuck.
I've never been off world. And
Right. I mean, in this, you see that constantly. Like, and for the most part, people don't give a fuck who's in charge, really. They're just like trying to survive in the huge fucking galaxy they live in. And imagine how expensive it would be just to maintain a spaceship. So,
Yeah, I thought gas was expensive.
Right.
Most people wouldn't be able to get off world
yeah.
unless they hitched a ride on like a commercial flight.
Probably much indentured servitude.
Yeah.
If
Well,
not,
There's a ton of that too.
Well, think about like even the main thing about the second episode is shows that they're trying to get that hyperdrive, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to a different space. So this shows even the big, you know what I'm saying, whether they're good or bad. But you know what I mean? Like even they still having a hard time. Like you can't just build one of these from scratch. Find one off a ship that'll fit our ship.
yeah, they're scrapping hyperdrives and building a different, not a Death Star, but a Death Ring.
Which looks dope as shit, but it looks like Halo, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a Halo ring.
Yeah, for real is.
Okay.
Um,
A death ring?
No, I
What do
just
they
made
call
that
it?
up. No, they did not.
Oh, I was like,
They had a much
No.
cooler name. It was like
Yeah.
the Eye of Sauron.
yeah.
Eye of,
they
but
called it that.
No.
It's the eye. They call it something.
I think they stole that from something.
yeah.
Especially once it lights up red like a big old eyeball
Right,
and says, I
start-
see everything.
Right.
And there's witches. That was the other interesting. There's witches
Yes.
in Star
from
Wars.
Dathomir.
Yeah. See, this motherfucker
See,
hasn't even seen it, and he knows the lore.
Well, there you can see these like the witches of Dathomir on the Clone Wars and shit too. I mean, but Dathomir is where Darth Maul is from. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's gangster.
so that's the. But the witches are using the Force. They're just using it in a different
Capacity.
way. So there's like Force sorcery.
Right.
And by the way, so like in the Darth Bane trilogy,
Mhm.
Bane takes his apprentice, and it's this girl called Xana, and she is really adept in Force sorcery. So, like, so she can like fuck with your, like, make you see like illusions and all kinds of fucked up crazy shit.
Other than just the lightning and pushing motherfuckers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and that's what the witches are using, but they have their own like
Word for it.
style. So
Yeah.
there are other Force using groups other than the Sith and the Jedi. Like there's other, like in some of the books they had these people, they called it flow walking, and you could observe the past, so you could time travel essentially. You could
Just couldn't affect it. You could see it.
right, and you could float. So Anakin's grandson in the books, Jason, flow walks and walks with Vader as he like kills all the people in the Jedi temple and shit. It's pretty cool. But I'm getting I digress. The point is there's more
Lore to what?
well no there's
So-
there's more groups that use the Force.
Speaking of jumping back, when Mr. Justine said, going back to like phantom pains, after having a baby, you feel its kicks for a few couple weeks
Oh,
afterwards.
one thing that we men will never get a chance to experience.
Yeah.
Even though I did get that, what do they call it? They're men cramps, more or less. I forgot they call it.
Man cramps.
It's where you feel.
Menopause.
Fuck?
I forgot what but it's when you get the woman's morning
It's
sickness.
called diarrhea, son.
No. There's a term for it. I can't, because all my children are grown now almost, so I forgot. But yeah, there's this whole thing about.
He's over here having his fucking
See, now you're gonna make me Google it.
his
Make-
period.
Google.
Oh Jesus.
So what I also think interesting, going back to Ahsoka, well, the possibilities of other crossover characters that we may see. So we know that she's Mandalorian, so we can easily get a crossover with the Mandalorian characters, or
Oh yeah, sure.
and then also we are expecting to get Darth Vader or Anakin at some point in time too. Is a very likelihood. We have we seen him in the trailers at
At
some?
what point in time is the show taking place?
So he's probably already Vader.
This is.
That's a good question, though. That's a good.
He's already
question.
Vader. This is the
Same
same.
time as the Mandalorian, and I think
It's the same time. It's the exact same time
and
frame.
I think it's happening in between. The Mandalorian's happening in between
in quote real time.
Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's all happening
Between those two films.
during the Empire's reign.
Well, this is the end. No, this is the end. This is the Republic's reign. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right there. No, yeah, the Republic were the good guys. Confused me for a
So
second.
the Republic is the government right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
So it's
after
the-
Return.
So it's the
after
High Republic.
after
era.
Return of the Jedi,
But I still think it's before.
before the Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They say at the beginning, because it still does the scroll. So if you wanted to get the exact time frame, you could get it from there.
Do you think we'll see Darth Maul?
Now that you mentioned the witches, it's
highly possible. We already saw a human half droid character that was
The reason I ask is in Solo. You remember at the end when we got that?
when they showed him with his legs chopped off, but he was still alive. But Solo takes
in the
place.
movie. No. It wasn't. He was just a hologram, but he was talking to that chick.
Yeah, but that was Solo. That's before. That's way before. That's like after 1, 2, and 3.
What? Solo?
Yeah, because that Solo was like after. That's when
Yeah, but
time wise, that takes place before A New Hope. Solo does.
well, I know that he's a young.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if he's still alive, I don't know what their lifespan is. So we're talking another entire trilogy between the timelines for
Yeah,
Solo.
but I mean, who knows how long they live?
Well, that's true because we know fucking Yoda was hundreds, and even Grogu they said was like 65, which was a baby for his race. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Ahsoka begins circa 9 ABY, meaning 5 years before Return of the Jedi. Therefore, 9 years between Star Wars
That's the
Rebel.
That's the Battle of Yavin. So
Okay.
It's after the Battle of Yavin. So that's
well, we're going to you for knowing that.
9 years passed between Star Wars Rebels Battle of Lothan, during which Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn disappeared, and then returned between Sabian and Ahsoka, and the reunion of Sabian and Ahsoka, which is what's happening now.
so. I gotta watch it, but are we getting like a live action Thrawn?
We don't know yet.
Well, that's the direction they're trying to find Thrawn and bring him back.
The Empire remnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's the main
So
plot.
they're trying to get him to rally everyone back.
Yep.
They changed Thrawn a little bit in so back in the day there was a Thrawn trilogy and it's like one of the very best. I mean, it's pretty widely considered like one of the best trilogies in the book series, like at all period.
Right.
And they kind of water him down in Rebels and shit.
Well, because isn't that considered a children's cartoon though? I mean, I know it's still in the lore, but
Teeny, yeah.
No, I mean just like I don't know. You would have to like read it and like draw your own comparison, I think. But to me, it's not. He is the same, but he's not. It's hard to explain.
yeah, because you just lost me.
Sorry.
He is, but he isn't.
He's sort of the same, but they take a lot of elements out of him, and he's very flat and not quite as intriguing. If that makes sense. They take a lot of his dimension away. Because he's supposed to be a fucking like a genius.
Right.
A tactical genius. And then also, the way he draws, he figures out his battle plans is by looking at the art of the people that he's about to fight. So he'll be in a room full of holograms. Like the whole room, and it'll be like examples of the art of that culture.
So like Wookiees per se.
Right. And like he would just look at their art and then he'd be like, oh, they do this in their art, so that must mean we should be.
He learns his enemy.
Yeah,
He walks in their shoes.
That's how he's able to go against somebody like the Jedi and shit, is because he's such a high level genius that he doesn't need like the Force.
This is scary because I swear we've had this conversation, and we probably didn't. But you know what I mean? When you have one of those, not deja vu moments, I'm having one of those right now. It's insane because I know we've never had this combo.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I've ever.
Maybe we're gonna have it again later.
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh, maybe we just had it.
Vuja Day.
Like you just felt part of the multiverse slip. You're like, that just happened.
Who stepped on a
You
damn?
know what? If the multiverse is real, that did just happen. Like it has happened, and it happened again just now. But if the universe is infinite, then it's happening. It happened an infinite amount of times the same time you said it.
like the one.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Statham and what's his name?
Jet Li.
Jet Li, my man, Jet Li.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a badass movie.
It's on Netflix. You can watch it for free.
I thought when it came out, I thought it was gonna be part of the Matrix shit, and I was like, oh damn.
Yeah,
Like it was gonna be like a prequel.
they could have.
It would have been so sick, but it was still a cool movie. Jet Li's the fucking man, though, dude. I've seen all his old like kung fu movies.
Yeah, even before the American ones.
Before he came to America. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like his kung fu movies are the shit, dude.
All right, yo. Droid wise, to non-English speaking droids, I should say.
Yeah.
I love Chopper.
Chopper.
Yeah. Yes. AK. Don't do that to me right now. He's messing with my. So Chopper is an R unit, but his speech is way different than any others before. Like there's not the beeps and the chirps. I think what they used to create his voice is like a young person. I can't tell if it's like a girl or a boy,
So
but like
it is almost like a voice.
yeah, it's definitely a voice. You can actually understand what Chopper's saying
So,
sometimes.
he's talking.
Yeah, but it's very hard to understand. It's almost like you know how babies don't, you know what I mean, when they're first learning words, like appears I am right now. But so there's one point, and I didn't even notice it at first until at first I was like, wait a minute, she's got an R unit, it's got a name, not like R5 T6. You know what I mean,
Like Kevin.
Yeah, well, yeah, Chopper. You know what I mean? She calls him. He has a nickname on top of that. She calls him Chop. But she had answered him, and I rewound it. I was like, wait a minute, I heard the question, and then I was, tripping. Like, was this a I am Groot moment? You know what I mean? Or did I really hear it? And then I went back and I listened to it, and it sounds. There's probably more than just two voices. It sounds like there's probably like 36 of them, but there's only two that your ears can pick up. And it's a very high pitch and a low pitch. So it sounds like a kid and a 40-year-old man. What? But it's garbled. So you can, some of the words it says, or even the tone, like how my voice is going up and down, you can figure out more than just a yes or a no, like a beat from R2.
Also,
just from the inflection.
Yeah.
And closed captioning says a lot too. It says it'll tell like a little bit of what they're saying if they're
does
saying
it?
Actually, because I watched it with my dad. He had it turned on. I never do. But also the one
I'm
thing,
deaf. I have it on a lot of times.
One thing that is also a little disappointing is how often Ahsoka's lines were sigh. I mean, because it was like sigh. It annoyed me. It never, like watching it wouldn't, but just how much they said it in the closed caption, sigh. I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah, we get it.
just a pause. They didn't have to say sigh.
I'm so glad I didn't have them on for this. Because I'm deaf. Normally I have them on. But
Typical female just sighing about everything.
But the robots it was more like adverbs, like it was describing it, but yeah, you could tell a lot, especially Chopper was very, very vocal.
yeah, I've never in the history of Star Wars cinema or TV shows heard an R unit where you could understand more than a.
It is like Groot, though. It's like when Vin Diesel gets the script.
Right.
I think they actually.
It has the word. Yeah.
It has the words, and then he's just got to figure out how to say.
I am Groot to whatever. Yeah.
Right, and make it sound.
But this is
So
this.
it is like an inflection thing because you can almost kind of understand.
Yeah.
Just based on the situation.
But you'll definitely understand this. Like with the first time, probably not even the first time, but you'll.
But it's like the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
It's like because you don't quite understand what he's saying.
There's one time you can definitely
But
understand.
you get. But wait, there's one time you understand.
Yeah, but it was like a whole sentence, and it was a short sentence, like I know, right, or what the fuck, you know what I'm saying?
There it is. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
exactly.
Where did you find my tools? And it's like, it was right. Did you look underneath in the secret compartment? Oh, look, there it is. Or it was something.
Yeah, and then she said, she said, I didn't move your stuff, and he said something along the lines of, yes, you did, and those 2 points were very obvious. You know what I mean? You'll know when you get to it. Trust me.
So she like modified him to do that.
That's a good question. I don't know if that was just a choice. I think it was a cool. I honestly like that because that's one of the things that I don't like about the, you know what I mean, the lore. I get it, but when you're watching it and BB-8 or R2D2 is saying something, and I can't just turn the things on. I have to listen to what the other person said. You know what I mean? To break down what was going on. It's kind of nice to be able to understand a droid.
And I think that's a part of the progression that we've seen with Star Wars is giving the robots more of a personality because of R2. And then, BB-8 is a perfect example of, hey, let's give this is not just a stand-in, a prop. This is a legit character of the story.
What show was it where the robot kept trying to blow himself up? Was that on The Mandalorian?
Yes.
Like he teamed up with that fucking that assassin droid or whatever the fuck, and it kept trying to blow itself up. Like he's like, no, not self-destruct.
Which is funny because that's about all the robots in here.
It's a goth robot,
right?
It was funny, dude. I forget what was that on The Mandalorian.
I think it was,
or
Boba
Fett.
Yeah, it was one of those because I remember that.
Yeah, he teamed up with them to maybe it was Boba Fett because they were doing a bounty, I think.
I want to talk about Ahsoka's style. So you were talking about like the samurai, you know what I mean? Hers seems more to almost like a ninja. Cause she's using dual lightsabers, but not like how everybody else does them, where they're the same size. Like she's got one that's longer and one that's shorter. So it's like if you ever seen the Japanese fight, you know what I mean? And not the samurais, they've got a katana, and then I can't remember what the smaller one's called.
Shoto.
But yeah, that's definitely her fighting style is based on that.
And her shoes.
And I love that.
She's got like the Ninja Turtle shoes.
Yeah.
So does she hold them right side up or does she hold them upside?
It depends.
Upside down. A lot of times in the past she would use them upside down.
Sometimes she normally has the small one upside down, but when she first gets into the stance, when she pulls them out,
it makes sense that her fighting style would evolve and she would get better at like in different stances, but in the beginning she would hold them like upside down most of the time, like backwards.
Right. Yeah, which is one of the ninja styles, you know what I mean?
Right.
Bushido.
Well, and then, anyway, never mind. Go. Never mind.
that was it for me.
I was about to go on a whole thing.
But I think complaints are it is a little slow.
That was my problem with the Kenobi show. I didn't really enjoy that.
But it was slow too.
I think I've come to expect that pace, and also just how they chose the CGI. When did they go big? When did they cut back? Mm-hmm. And the CGI was obviously a couple different layers to make it look like they're in a spaceship and all backgrounds. I think they did it smart, and I don't know. And also in the third episode, they went back into Jedi training, Padawan, and it was a lot of the same stuff that we've seen before. I think they're playing it a little too safe. I want to see a little more risks, and it's still early, but like episode 3, it really kind of hit a lull, and it was like really, it's like this again, the training. It's like okay. Oh, now the blinders. Okay, of course. It's this. There was different layers of the training, but it was still the same thing.
I think some of that when it comes to the TV shows, because that's probably why you didn't like it. There was a lot of that in Obi-Wan, which I still like that one.
And I liked it too.
But
I liked that part where they showed Leia and Luke training. Wasn't that in Kenobi? Or what show was that?
It was Leia. Luke wasn't there.
No, there's a scene in one of the movies or something where Luke and maybe it was in The Mandalorian or something, but
because I was about to say, weren't they separated almost at birth?
There was a scene where Luke was training Leia.
Oh, okay.
And like she was doing I think she was fighting him with the blinder on or something. I can't remember, but either way she bests him in like a training.
That's dope.
And
which would show how badass she was for whatever the movies
like
did.
She quit training to be a politician, which is fucking dumb.
So all right, what you said, more of the same. I want you to stick, as you were still in the middle of your. I think this one's going to be like most of the other ones and only have like 6 episodes. So if this is the third
This is
one,
the halfway point.
yeah, this is the halfway point. So expect them to go big or go home after this.
Yeah, so they've introduced the characters, kind of introduced the bad guys, got a map. Now they got a ship. Now they're going to go to the destination, find the bad guy, resolve the conflict. Yeah.
So have you noticed that her lightsabers are white?
Yes.
There's a reason for that. And that's because she's not a Jedi. Not technically. Like she used to be, but
Well, wait a minute. Hold up.
she was
Did
she was excommunicado.
all right, but I didn't know if Anakin had ever officially, you know what I mean,
What?
completed her training.
No, because
Well, that she could
Well,
be
I
kicked
think-
out
no,
if
I
she
think-
never was all the way.
I think she was a knight by then.
Oh, okay.
She was a Jedi Knight by then. But there's like this whole murder thing that happened.
Yeah, which they mentioned.
then-
They mentioned that in
And
the
then
Mandalorian.
she gets
Kicked out.
They essentially, when she's on trial, the Jedi like kick her out of the order instead of having her back. So Anakin is literally the only person that helps her prove her innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she does, all of a sudden they come back and they're like, "Oh, you can come back now." And she's like, "Fucking blow me. Like, you guys fucking did not help me at all." And so,
Which, honestly, if you go back and watch the movies, there were certain times where the Jedi Order was, they could have stopped some shit before it happened.
but the white blades represent her being
Light side, but not an actual Jedi.
not a Jedi. I mean, she's a Jedi, obviously, but she's not by the traditions
Yeah,
of the Jedi.
which is why I was shocked that she actually had a Padawan. You know what I mean? If she's not technically a
well,
Jedi.
that's how Jedi started. It's like in the beginning, like in the way back when
Way back.
they Jedi, there was no council, there was no like order.
Right.
Jedi,
Is the way back.
yeah, Jedi would just be like knights errant, like back in the day. So they would just travel around, and you would have
Doing shit for
you would have
motherfuckers.
shut up, man. You had one Jedi, and then he would take his apprentice, and like they would just travel around together and do their own thing. And that was more like
Just like hobbits.
what Qui-Gon was.
Right.
It's like he was more down, like kind of like that,
Makes sense.
and that's why he was down to do whatever the fuck he wanted and fuck what the order said.
Which he did so many times.
Yeah. So he was close to like a gray Jedi, but back in the day they didn't have any of that.
Colors,
Like,
coordinating. Yeah.
well, there just wasn't a council or any other Jedi telling you what to do. You were just a Jedi with your apprentice. And then later down the road they
Like
all
a Catholic preacher without the Vatican.
yeah, and then later down the road they all became like an order and like organized it.
Pardon me.
He just slurping.
My mouth is dry. Shut up. Yeah. But yeah, I have high hopes for this show. Also the fucking, you could tell the
My point,
actresses
my
that they
point-
found.
hold
Oh
on.
yeah, go ahead.
My point with that is like, so what Ahsoka's been doing
Yeah, I get
is
that.
like traveling around, being her Jedi self, but on her own. That's what Jedi used to be in before.
Which also led me to another question. Like, would the Order even allow them to train a Mandalorian? Somebody that already has their own faith and belief?
Well, the order at the time, like when the Order 66 and everything happened,
Right.
like just bringing in someone as old as Anakin when they brought him in was
Was a mistake.
like,
Yeah.
where they were like, no, like you had to be super young,
Yeah.
which is like super weird if you think about it. You're like, some dudes show up at your house. We got to take your very young child with us
There's a bit.
to our,
Honestly,
to our
all right.
fucking.
I
cult.
understand how that sounds weird to you, but knowing what George Lucas did the original stories off of was cowboys and
No,
samurai movies.
I get it.
As somebody that grew up on them kung fu
I
movies,
get it,
yeah.
but if you just like, we got to go take your very young child and bring him to our space ninja cult.
But I mean, isn't that crazy that that's based off of real human history?
I mean, you don't seem to have much of a choice about it either.
No, you don't. But I mean, yeah, but we'll take it a step, take some of that young away from it. Even how long ago was it since the draft was taken away? Vietnam, what was that, 60s?
Could still come back technically.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So we were talking about how that sounds
Not
weird.
for us though.
Well, yeah, because we're too old.
Depends how bad it gets.
That's true too.
Hey man,
Yeah, cause with both us being veterans,
that would suck.
it would be one of us before him.
It's true.
And you're younger, so.
Yeah. Shut up, man.
But yeah, my whole point to that was it's crazy. Like, we're laughing at that, but we're not that far behind that. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Hell, we're not that far behind a world war. I mean, this is intergalactic. Like, a lot of the shit that comes, like, it's what do they say, that fiction mirrors real life?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of the time people pull inspiration of the shit they go through.
Yeah.
Just like Tolkien and writing The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, it's heavily influenced by World War, was it one? Or I mean,
Had to be one because wasn't in the 30s those books came out?
Yeah. There's also I think, I'm not sure if it was H.G. Wells or no, Orson Welles
Or some.
or no Asimov or one of those
Isaac Asimov.
classic guys worked in a patent office and wrote about all sorts of, I think it was George Orwell, and he wrote about all sorts
familiar.
of he did 1984, but I could be getting the author wrong. But the point was, he worked at a patent office and wrote about some of the things that he saw as science fiction, and people would be, no, that could never happen, and he would laugh. He's like, no, actually, I saw it in front of me.
But at least was he seeing the real ones or like the actual drawings?
He would probably a mix of both, but you know,
that's really funny though.
so here it was. No, it's like, actually, no, this contraption really did exist. It was a piece of crap, but it really did exist.
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting that how things do. You know, I think it was Asimov who did this. The elevator to space is one way to get effective way once you can figure out how to get that up there,
right?
To, you know, so you don't have to burn so much fuel rocketing up. It's a slow burn up to the sky to where you can affordably get people or materials
and
off Earth.
Yeah, and then as much as, you know what I mean, that sounds way off. Like, that resembles the Tower of Babel story from the Bible. You know what I mean? It wasn't an elevator, but they were trying to make a surface, a building to go all the way to heaven.
Trying to get up to heaven.
Yeah, so it's all been done before.
We talked about that before. Weren't you saying that's where
Different races.
accents and races and shit is supposed to have come from?
Yeah.
Where did I?
That was us. Yeah, the Lord was like, no more of that. And they couldn't keep, but not that I mean, you know what I mean? I think that's more of one of, they say, a parable than it actually happened.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like, all right, we're building a way to heaven. Nope, God didn't want you to do that. So now none of y'all can understand each other. And then all the ones that could went off in different places. And getting slightly off topic, when people start talking about that, and it's like, well, how if everybody was black or if everybody was white from the first man, whichever way you look at it, and they all went separate ways, and then you just start talking about Pangea when it was one continent, and then they start breaking away. You go to colder areas, less melanin, less pigment because they don't need it. You know what I mean? The sunnier areas, darker skinned people, protection from the sun, less clothes because, you know, the temperature. It's kind of funny, you know, how all of those different things branch out from different thought processes, was my point.
It is interesting. I mean, it is just like we were talking about that one time. It's weird how we have different accents,
Even in the even in
just how
America,
many,
yeah.
and how many different languages there are. And like, no matter what, people figure out how to talk to each other, and there's literally thousands of different ways to do it. Like, there's so many dialects and fucking different. So even like you can speak a certain kind of like Spanish, but if you speak it in a certain place there in where they speak Spanish, but it's a different like dialect or whatever the fuck, and
But
like
there's still dialect and language are different because I think if you know the language, even though if you know like Spanish from Tijuana
no,
and you go to
somewhat.
Spain,
It's
they
like,
are different, but the core basic you could still survive.
but it's like talking in slang or like Ebonics back in the day.
Well,
and, like,
probably.
so they were speaking English, but they're using heavy slang, and you can't understand a word. It's like in Snatch, fucking Brad Pitt, and like their
The pikey speak.
the
Have you ever
pi-
turned
the-
that on
yeah.
on the movie?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like that, they're speaking English, but you can barely understand what the fuck they're saying. It's like, imagine being an alien and coming here and being like you. So you always imagine when you're thinking of aliens, like they wouldn't be as diverse as humans are. We always think they're just like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does you know what I mean? Like they're always just like one thing, and
And that they're humanoid.
and they all speak the
That'd be
same.
jellyfish kind. There'd
Mm-hmm.
be
Everybody in the universe speaks English.
We,
And, you know,
we all stand up on two legs and two arms,
Right.
even if we have different appendages. But yeah, you never see like them showing a gel spaceship flying through the air and people come out in their toothpicks. You know what I mean?
toothpicks.
I was just trying to think of the most crazy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You remember Stick Stickly on Nickelodeon back in the day? He was like a popsicle stick guy.
Yes, I haven't heard that in decades.
They did like the MTV
Oh.
thing with him. It was crazy. It was funny. Like in the summertime,
Stickly.
he was a little popsicle stick guy.
Man, we went way off.
Well, I think we said pretty much all we can about Ahsoka, but
We did. I love our tangents and how we get to them. It's crazy.
yeah.
All right, quick number rating thus far.
I give it a fucking 10.
You haven't even seen it.
That's why he said that. Yeah,
Out of 10?
Yeah. Well, let's do 5. I think it's easier to do 5.
I was about to go 7 on 10, but like 3.5.
All right, that works.
I mean, I want to
Three
see.
and a half.
I-
5 is average.
No, I changed it to 5 because it was taking too long to think.
Oh, 1 out of 5.
So he said 3 at 3.5, 3.5 out of 5.
Because it could easily be a 4 or 4.5, but I want to see how it resolves. I want to see the full progression. Like I said, it's feeling a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's still giving me enough of what I like, but it's like, all right. Especially week to week, it's better as a bingeable.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and I have been. You know what I mean? So
I guess
today.
Yeah, maybe once you watch it all in a row, it'll feel a little faster.
It still has some slow parts. But if you ask me, I think certain Star Wars films have had slow parts too. So
True, they have.
Well, the whole first movie.
we're back around. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
that movie's really slow for a lot of it.
I give it the same rating for almost the same reason. It's 3.5 thus far. I'm very happy. I'm probably more happy with this cast, having a small cast and being able to do that much with the story, and a mostly female-led cast at that, which I think is a first. You know what I mean? There are way more females on this show.
As far as the protagonist side, absolutely.
Well, hell, even the antagonist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's still 2-1. You know what I mean? So this was something I was thinking of on the drive over. It's like, man, there's a lot of girls in this movie. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking about how hot. I was like, half the cast is hot and they're female.
So that almost reminded me, going back to the witch, the mother, the maiden, and crone are the 3 different witches. So then there's 3 different. Now all of them are maidens, obviously,
Right.
but it's still I wonder, looking at on kind of the Sith side,
Right.
we kind of get, but there's the one guy.
Who could still fall under one of them.
So yeah.
But yeah, even one of the episodes was called Trouble and Toil, like the old witch's tale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are the witches after Ahsoka
Macbeth.
or what's going on?
Now they're trying to bring what's his face back.
Who?
Thrawn.
Thank you.
Oh,
The witches are?
The thong.
There's one witch in particular.
Thong, thong, thong,
The Thrawn, the
thong.
That was
Thrawn,
good.
the Thrawn.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go home and watch
There we
tonight.
go.
Oh man, I love you guys.
That Thrawn, the Thrawn, Thrawn, Thrawn.
Well, I agree with
Yeah.
your rating.
Thanks.
Cool.
And I also agree, or I know
I
Mike
agree.
have said that Clone Wars is definitely highly valued Star Wars content. Highly.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
Acclaimed.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that and Rebels because I think I need to now.
I think even Disney has like Ahsoka run, so you can just watch like the key episodes that she was in.
Yeah, but
It's better
it's
to.
worth to just watch it all.
There's just a lot.
There's a lot of it, but
I made it through all 12 movies
it gives you context on
in May.
like it gives you context between the second movie and the third one. So between Attack of the Clones and
Yeah, because there
Revenge of the Sith,
was a lot
because
that was left out if you don't know the
if
lore.
you watch all that, Anakin's turn to the dark side
Mhm.
seems less like a little bitch boy cop out because you see a lot more of his reasoning throughout that, and Ahsoka being one of the reasons. You know, he
Yeah,
saw how they fucked her over, and he's like, "Oh, this is like a fucking," you know what I mean?
it's the whole
Yeah.
Jesus thing. He goes from being like 7 to being 27. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of character building that wasn't done for that character.
Well,
you know
no,
what I mean?
because in the second movie, he's like
17. I was joking.
17 or 18.
That was
But,
making
like-
that Jesus.
But it's like
reference.
10 years.
Yeah, that's still a long
So
time.
by the time you see him in Revenge or Revenge of the Sith, he's
Gone.
like 28.
But yeah, he went basically from 7 to 17 to
Uh-huh.
27 in 3 movies.
Yeah. And so that's like why watching the Clone Wars is a good thing, because then you get all that context and what the fuck they were doing that
And I've
whole-
heard so many Star Wars fans actually say that. So as somebody with a Star Wars tattoo, you're right. I'll make that happen.
Well, and
There are parts that are slow, just like it's almost the same kind of pacing
Right.
at points.
and Rebels is good as fuck too. Like especially near the end of it, like you really get into some really crazy shit.
Well, see, I think that was the other thing. I didn't know if they were going to be ongoing. I didn't realize, what time frames they were doing. And I was watching so much and reading so much already. I was like, I can't add something else on my plate to confuse me.
And you see Darth Maul's actual death. Like he finally he actually dies.
Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
It's badass.
I was shocked as shit to see him still alive in fucking Solo. And of course, I had a super nerd buddy by me. He was like, "Oh, you know he was still alive?" No. Last I saw, half of his body was going one way and the other half was going that way.
Yeah, he's alive, and
But yeah, it totally made sense. Again, the whole fire thing, with the lightsabers.
they find him in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I was told.
And there's a fucking badass part with Palpatine in the Clone Wars, with Darth Maul and his brother.
Okay,
It's fucking.
I will check those out.
He goes and claps them cheeks, like, cause Darth Maul like starts calling himself the Lord of the Sith and shit, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna go handle this," and he walks right into their compound and like fucks everything, like casually, like waving his hand and like fucking everything up. He's just like, and like people just go flying, smash into the wall.
I will check that shit
And
out.
Darth Maul is no joke by this point, but he makes him like
Yeah, he was never.
he doesn't even have the slightest bit of a fucking chance. Not even like not ever could he ever hope to even do shit.
It's
to,
like
to Palpatine.
the third sister up against Vader,
The what?
whatever her fucking name was
Who?
in Obi,
Obi.
the black girl, man.
I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
She was working for Vader, and come to find out, she was one of the
Oh right,
younglings
yeah.
that survived.
Oh right, yeah.
And she, he let her think she had a
She
chance
was a-
for
she
like
was an
30
inc-
seconds.
She was an inquisitor.
Yeah. He gave her like 30 seconds of, okay, that's enough. I've had enough. And then he was just like,
But even he isn't shit to Palpatine.
Well, of course. But I'm just saying, I was talking about, seeing a level. Like, first of all, she was.
Yeah, it's crazy the level that Vader's at, and then to understand that he is nothing
Compared to Palpatine.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like that dude is so, and they get deeper into it in like the mythos of like why Palpatine is so strong, and so the Sith have a legend of the Sithari, and it's basically their chosen one. He's gonna be the one to embody the dark side fully, like they are the dark side incarnate. Like it's, you know what I mean? They're one and the same. And he seems to be that because he's powerful on a stupid level, like the Sith of the past that would they could destroy stars and shit with the Force. Like people that were powerful on like a fucking crazy level. And Palpatine's at that level. Or maybe not destroy a star, but
Way up there.
yeah.
Give that star a titty twister.
It depends on the star's name.
Give the star a titty twister.
Yeah, you couldn't kill it, but just give it a good titty twister at least.
I want to give you a
Well, I think we've come
Go
to
have another shot.
the close. No, not yet, but we're going to.
We're not at the close. We have 15 minutes. We should talk about
Oh, are we?
me and Bill went to Fort Collins. If you
Without me?
yeah, well, that's whose fault.
You got a gig.
It was fun though.
Caused a ruckus.
So Bill had a little, not little, but he did a panel, how to build a better podcast. That was really fun. I sat in on that, and you did really good, man. Like I was just worried for you. I didn't want you to like freeze up or panic. I didn't know how comfortable you were with public speaking or any of that, and I mean, it was like he was teaching a class almost.
What it's supposed to be?
That's what I went into is Professor Bill mode. I said
it
later
was
on
it was very much like, and it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it was like
in an alternate universe, I'm definitely there's a version of me that is a professor,
Reed Richards.
Right.
or also a pastor or a preacher too. I guarantee it.
Yep.
Alternate universe Bill, if you don't find me at a radio station.
Pastor,
Right.
preacher.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, I was almost going that route.
So
You'd be surprised.
anyway, what was I saying?
The panel.
Oh yeah, the
You
panel.
were-
So you did fucking stellar on that. Good job, man. And I was
you.
proud. I was
Roof,
really proud.
roof.
And I jumped in, here or there, but I sat while Bill was standing, and I like wanted the room to, not focus on both of us, mostly him. But then I would jump in if he made a point, and then I felt like I could add something to it.
Right.
I would like jump in there and say it, and then like give it right back to Bill. I think it was really cool, and I think we should do that more.
I'm definitely going to be throwing my name in the ring for next,
More panels.
yeah, especially around Casper. So we
As you
continue
should.
And I've actually kind of run into a few people that kind of are looking to kind of start their own podcast, and just by kind of talking about it, more people have become interested. So you're going to see more things around town and kind of more stuff happening. So
More content for more places.
Mm-hmm. And that's never a bad thing. dude.
Never.
I mean,
yeah,
and we hear it all the time while we're at these cons where people are like surprised that we're there. And they're like, "You guys are recording here? Let's fucking." They're like, "Oh,
we're
like
recording while walking around the Comic Con.
yeah, that
right?
was a learning experience. I didn't,
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like that. We lost a bunch of shit because we thought we were recording, and I had the mixer in the backpack,
Right.
and it must have hit pause or I didn't unpause. And we walked around for like 30 minutes talking and got a bunch of good shit. And then
None of it was saved.
There was a track around. There was a gymnasium. There was a track on the top, and we walked around the track while talking about the
Like,
Comic-Con.
over the top of the whole con. So you
That's
could-
dope.
Yeah, so we were in it. We lost all of it. It
Yeah.
was really good
It
too.
was probably the best part of the recording.
Isn't that always the case? Isn't that always how that happens?
Although the other
You
part,
know,
which I
to
think
be
we need to
fair-
find a clip, is when the hotel called and told us to please be quiet and shut the fucking door.
Yeah, because we
they
had some
gotta-
drinks when we went to dinner and shit. Like we went to dinner, went and had some drinks, and then we were like, let's go back and drop my car off at the hotel, and we'll finish recording, and then we're gonna go back out and like bar hop, just go down College, and hit
It's in
all
Fort
the
Collins, in case you didn't know.
in Fort Collins, and hit all the bars. And yeah, we were talking, but like normally in a hotel, you let go of the door, it closes itself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one just swung wide open, and we were talking, and I'm loud. And
You don't
and
say.
Bill was drunk too, and we were like both talking pretty loud, and they like called us.
All of a sudden the phone's ringing, and
It was
I'm
the
listening
end
back
of
to
the
the
ep-
recording. And it's like, they're complaining about the noise. And Mike's like, what noise?
Yeah, right up to me, I'm like, we're just talking.
We're
What the
just
fuck?
like, what noise?
I don't think we were that loud. It was just
The door was
door
fucking wide
open.
open.
So like, yeah, you could hear us down the fucking hall.
Like, we
'cause-
gotta complain about the noise, and can you close the door?
yeah, sorry.
That's what they said to me in like that very motherly voice.
Yeah. Like, you messed up.
Dumbass, close the fucking door.
But then we got done with that, like got all our shit together, and then fucking bounced and walked for fucking ever, it seemed like.
Yeah, we
And
walked
then
a
we
while.
saw like these, like, it's so weird. You'll be like walking down a super heavy traffic street, like a main street, or like a strip, almost like College is like almost a strip or
Yeah.
whatever. So, and then you walk by like these super old abandoned looking houses. They look haunted as fuck. Bill's like, we saw an empty lot, but with a walkway that went up to like it was going to a front door, but no house there. And Bill's like, that must be like a.
Alternate dimension.
And then he said he drove by later.
Well, it was more
the
than
next
that.
day.
As soon as I said that, you tripped on the sidewalk, almost fell, and then this bum walks past, looked like he's carrying a baby, but had nothing in his hands.
Yeah, and then he was talking and saying he said something too.
So y'all jumped into an alternate dimension and then popped out.
Yeah,
Something.
and then
But-
maybe we're still there. We're fucked. I don't know. It's possible.
Well, see,
Dude,
that'd
do
be
we
weird.
cross
So,
over?
yeah,
That
so,
house
so,
was-
so, yeah, at this point, because I wasn't with y'all, so am I the real me? And like, what's going on
So
here?
you would be alt you, but
But
you're
I wouldn't know,
But
'cause
you're
I'm-
still the same use, as
Okay.
far as I can
doesn't-
tell.
Yeah, from our perspective, it's you, so it doesn't matter.
And yeah, you guys still look like you. So if we do change worlds, let me know.
Am I real?
Am I real? What the
No,
fuck is
so then
going on here?
we hit some bars. We hit we ended up in like this straight up club, like fucking like fucking doing tequila shots. We said we weren't doing shots, and then we ended up doing shots.
Yeah, we're gonna get you to do one tonight.
And tonight, yeah, maybe after this,
Yeah.
I just wasn't gonna do it like all night, like you know what I mean, because that's what happens.
We only took one.
Okay, but not that I like your restraint when I'm not doing it. Bill like sneaks off, grabs the whole fucking bottle, comes back
I
in.
almost did.
I'm like, I said it. I said it when we did it the last time. I said, we're doing one, and you guys are like, okay, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, I can't because you can't give me one. And then when you say let's do another one, I'm gonna be like, okay. So I'm like trying to be.
That was by design,
I
by
was
the way.
trying to be good, and you got man.
I know that was evil. I'm sorry.
I was so fucking drunk that night.
Yeah, but it was hilarious.
It happened twice. It did happen twice.
Yeah, but only once was my fault.
I deleted that whole episode. I did. I took it off everything. Fuck that.
What?
I said a bunch of really stupid shit. I couldn't. I was like really embarrassed. And I don't do that shit.
I
Like,
know.
I've never taken an episode down, but I couldn't. I was like, I said too much dumbass shit.
Please tell me it still exists somewhere.
I don't
It
know.
had the highest ratings out of any of our shows.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the problem. A bunch of people were going to hear it.
All 12 of them.
Oh,
And we love all 12 of you. Thank you.
all 12. Really? You can't say that like on the show.
We know it's more than that. Hell, they can watch the YouTube videos and tell that.
That's true.
Yeah, I've still got
Somebody commented on our Into the Spider-Verse, the newest one.
Mhm.
Somebody commented on the YouTube video. You should look. But there was a part where I laughed about something where nobody else did. Apparently, it was like somebody said some shit, and I'm like,
That was me, by the way. That's my YouTube channel.
Oh, that you commented that?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
My bad. I didn't realize you didn't know that wasn't me.
I was like, who comment? Because Vanessa saw it and was like, she thought it was really funny because she laughed at that too.
Right.
Because
Well, it was funny late. It was just that you were the only one. It was just like one of them weird, moments. Like whenever we have one of those weird moments of silences because we don't know who wants to talk next, or you know what I mean. And it was just hilarious that you was the only one that it was just funny to me.
I don't even remember what it said. You said something specific. I can't remember.
Yeah,
what.
it's on, and it's right there.
What
it's
I laughed at.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bill, I'm proud of you, buddy. That was a good
Hell yeah.
showing on the fucking panel. Hopefully,
Thanks.
it'd be cooler to have more time because I feel like a question. So if you had a bigger crowd too, I think it was nice to have a small group of people to test the waters in. But now I think like a bigger crowd and then more people, so hopefully more people want to ask questions.
And he mentioned that.
That
to
one
me
guy,
when
that
you
one
guys
guy,
came back.
that one guy, he did ask a lot. He was really trying to do
Or-
something.
Or should have more questions in between.
He was the one guy in the group that was really trying. He was like going. He was like, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had a podcast like really soon.
Or was yeah.
He was there to like figure out how to do it well, and like you could tell he didn't know how to do a lot of it, but he had an idea.
That's
'Cause
what it takes, man.
He was talking about doing like almost a radio drama type thing with his own story or
It's an
something.
audiobook kind
Wasn't
of
it?
deal.
That's
Yeah.
dope.
Which he's like asked about like a solo show, and I was thinking he was talking about like something like Joey Diaz or Theo Von do,
Mm-hmm.
but he's talking like you said, more like that Batman podcast that you were listening to, where it's like those old radio shows like Gunsmoke and
radio drama.
Batman and fucking Superman and all that shit. I used to love that shit, by the way. Twilight Zone and like the radio show.
But still, think about how we're complaining about CGI on 4K screens.
Yeah, and I enjoy story without pictures at all.
Yeah.
Like, I like audiobooks and
Well, it leaves a little bit to the imagination too.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot you can say or make it feel, and I think that's the cool part is just the ambiance behind it that you can add a lot of kind of texture
But I
and
think in a
silence and
the
tension.
best. The thing about a book is you can't hide behind flashy, pretty pictures and all that. You really have to have a good story.
so it can engage the individual
Right.
reader's
You
mind.
really gotta count on your audience to like visualize that and be interested enough to want to do that.
Which, by the way, I don't laugh. And you're gonna laugh, you fucker. I think that's one of the reasons why I liked the Twilight books. You know what I mean? And I didn't mind the movies.
I read them.
You know what I mean? Because the story it's not like it's a great story, but like the movies were decent, but they were made for teenage girls.
I
You
was
know what I mean?
thinking about this.
But the books are actually, which the books are made for teenage girls too. But me as a black man have never been a white teenage girl. So I was 30 when I read those. It was, you know what I mean? Like I was dating a white girl at the time,
they're okay.
but she was like, I was laughing at certain parts that she didn't think were funny because we were reading it together. You know what I mean? And I tell this story all the time, but There was a part where Bella passed out because she forgot to breathe after what's his bucket kissed her. You know what I'm saying? And I was fucking on the floor rolling around because that was funny to me. Like, you know what I mean? I've had some great kisses. I've had some great blowjobs, and I haven't stopped. You know,
to breathe.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm laughing at that, and my girlfriend actually punched me. She was like, "That's not funny." I was like, "No, it's fucking hilarious." And then I was like, "Well, have you ever passed out from a guy kissing you?" She said, "Well, I got butterflies and I got lightheaded," and you know what I mean. I can't remember that happening to me. You know what I mean?
I did read those back when all that shit was going down, and I guess I kind of enjoyed it. I fucking hated like the second book, especially, and then like the end of it.
That was
really sucks ass. Because you didn't see. No, you like the end of the movie. You didn't see any of that in
the book. Yeah,
in the book, it was just like everybody, Avengers assemble, and then we'll talk, and then nobody's gonna fight anybody, and we're like, that's the end. That's literally how it goes down, and you're like, what in the fuck? So I think if I read it again, I wouldn't like it
as much as you did the first time.
Yeah, well, I didn't like it all that much to begin with. Though,
we're not the core audience.
It's like you said. I was dating a chick that was reading it, and I was like, I might as well like check it out too, because she was like done with the one, and I'd just read after her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I don't think I would like that. It's not that great of a story, to be honest.
It's not, but visually, it was dope. Like, I mean, when I say, let me take that away. Using my own imagination, reading it was better than what the movies did.
I take that back. It's not dope until they make her a vampire. And that's when that shit gets really sick.
But see, like I said, we like different things about it. Like, what I liked was I was, getting to see a white female teenager's perspective on life, because it was way different than mine. Right. Even love life. You know what I mean? And so that part was really funny to me, and it was something that no other book had ever done. But I was just trying to validate your point. Books are better at sometimes getting those mind juices flowing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, I mean, and you, like I said, you don't have any pictures or any of that to rely on, so you really have to engage your audience with a good story, or you lose them. Because I mean, I've given up on books that people like swear to fucking God that are the greatest shit ever, like The Wheel of Time. I think it's absolute trash, but like I couldn't get through the first book, and that's one of the few books that I just stopped reading, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is trash. But
I did that with 50 Shades of whatever.
Well, I've never.
But that is trash.
Read that. But you really have to engage your audience with a good story, and I think that's where, at the core, I think that's the foundation of good stories, is like a book, or like a word to mouth, or you know what I mean, a word of mouth story, where you just know a story well and you can tell it like around a campfire. That's like the real origin of storytelling. But like in a book, I think that's the foundation, and like the best place to find the best stories still.
I would not disagree,
because a lot of the shit you're watching is based off of a book or something. I guarantee it.
Or written down at least at one point in time.
There you go.
Yeah. Right.
As a script.
So
I think next week we should do at least like the first 3 or 4 episodes of Gotham Knights. Awesome Batman family show without Batman, but it's dope.
You got to send me a reminder to watch it, because I got to watch Ahsoka tonight, and I'm guarantee I'm going to forget.
I will remind you.
So just remind me to watch it so I can actually at least have a few episodes down.
Once you get finished with the first one, you'll definitely want to watch at least.
I watched that one, and it was only like 10 minutes of it. It was like the end of an episode, and I had zero context, and I'm like,
I think you guys might have the potential to like it more than I did.
Aesthetically, I thought
Batman shit is better than mine.
Aesthetically, I thought it looked good. I was like, oh, this is like kind of gritty and like dope. Like, I like the look. But like, yeah, I got like 10 minutes, and then I'm like, I don't know what's happening, and then I never saw it again. So
yeah, you have to watch it from the beginning, or you'll be lost.
It was kind of interesting. I just didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because the very first minute tells you, it leads you into what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
So,
and then they don't tell you who the characters are. So I don't care how much Batman lore you have until they actually say their name or they do something to make you recognize definite. You know, they led you along on the first episode, but as soon as you get it, it's like,
it's really that good. Do you really want us to like? Because he's never had us been like, hey, you should watch this show. Because that's kind of how we do it on Dragging These Balls. We all pick a show, and then we're watching it weekly, and then so it's kind of interesting to see it like happen over here because it doesn't happen that way. What was that for?
That was the old 1970s Batman.
I know what it was, but
It's Batman.
Gotham Knights, Batman.
well, I like that. See, okay, do
Bill,
something.
Get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing going.
So you do the blah blah blah.
Are you trying to make a beat over there?
Yeah. Do this.
The whole DJ shit's kicking in.
I lost my soundboard.
Oh,
Wah, wah, wah.
hello, Jesus Christ, Bill, get your shit together, man.
Was that?
There's too many options.
That was pretty good. That was a good impression.
Oh, Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, get your shit
Bill.
together, man.
Get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing going.
Let's get this fucking thing going. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what I was wanting you to do. That was perfect. This has been the Comic Zone.
Don't use that voice.
The Comic Zone Lounge, baby.
All night.
Go to thecomiczone.com. That's where we got all our episodes. Bill's got his nudes there too, but you got to pay for that shit.
Not much.
We'll take YouTube subscribers.
YouTube subscribers?
Yes, I would.
You
Yeah.
say you just go to thecomiczone.com. Like I said, that's where we got all our episodes. Go check out Bill's. Bill's. Us in Fort Collins. Go check out that episode. Go check out all the socials. And I think that's it.
Peace.
Stay black, homies.
Bill, get your shit together, man. Let's get this fucking thing going.